All right, in today's video, we're going to break down kind of an alignment of where a lot of our listeners and viewers, both on the podcast here on the show, have been asking, and that is, which platforms would you recommend? And one of the guys that I like that is in the YouTube crypto space has done a lot of work in this, so we're going to have him on today, kind of jumping into it. And the two contenders today that we're going to break down is Celsius and Voyager, and I think you guys are going to love this one. My name is Paul Barron. Welcome back to Tech Path. As you guys know, we do a ton of crypto videos here, but we also cover EV, AI, a lot of innovative tech solutions out there. But I want to welcome back to the show Mr. Rob from Digital Asset News. Great to have you.
Paul, always good to be on. What are we talking about today? What's happening?
All right. So the big plan here is this. We're going to look at Voyager and Celsius, even though that they have unique differences in terms of how the platforms work. The primary thing a lot of people are looking for is, where's the best place to park funds? So let's talk about stable coins where the highest interest yields could be out there. And these seem to be the two cats in the playground that are fighting it out to kind of get you guys into their program. What do you know about Voyager? I know you full disclosure, are you a referral for Voyager? How does your program work with them?
Oh yeah, I get so I have this handy dandy spreadsheet I'm always talking about, and I just go over all the different exchanges and wallets and all the things that I've ever used before. And I have an affiliate link with Voyager, with Celsius, with Kraken, with Coinbase, with
perfect.
Everything that you can possibly think of. And Voyager's, it's a great platform. Celsius is a great platform. There's just a little bit of differences here and there.
Yeah, for sure. On Voyager, I want to jump to a couple of things. Let's just jump over to the Voyager loyalty program. What do you know about this one? This is kind of a new thing for them.
Yeah, I know that I'd like it to be here already, but it just took a little bit of time. So the thing with the loyalty program, and this is me and Steve Ehrlich, the CEO, he's been on the show a couple of times. We've gone back and forth and he's talked about it. But the whole thing is to get real world use utility for their Voyager token. And they've taken a look at this loyalty program for quite some time. But the first thing they have to do is they have to do this thing called a token swap. And Steve, when he was on the show, he said, look, this token swap for Ethos, what used to be called Voyager, we need to swap that for everybody on the international side. And we need to make sure that everybody has Voyager or VGX token 2.0. And we need to make sure it's smooth and make sure nobody loses anything. I said, well, let's see how long that's going to take. And he says, give me until June 30th. And I'll tell you exactly when it is. And I was like, sure, okay. And guess what? On June 30th, they came out with an announcement and said, this is what's going to happen. On August 1st, I believe, we're going to roll it all out. It's going to be 30 days. You're going to be able to actually transfer your tokens from your Ethos into Voyager 2.0, and everybody's going to be involved. And we're going to give it, like I said, 30 days. And after that, the loyalty program will come in the first week of September. And that loyalty program gets rolled out to everybody. And what I am always big on as far as projects does this actually have real world utility? Like, why would I hold Voyager token? What does it really do for me?
Right.
Well, first of all, you can stake it at 7%. Second of all, if you're using the Voyager platform, which it has, I think I want to say has over 60 different tokens now, or 60 different cryptocurrencies. For everything that you actually purchase, the actual amount, the trading fees are actually reduced depending on your tier for your Voyager token. On top of that, they're going to give you a free debit card. Looks like a credit card is going to come out. They're going to have an actual dashboard for the browser platform. And then a couple of other different things that the Voyager token actually does to give you real world utility, which is why you're going to want to actually hold it. So that is Voyager in a nutshell. And if you are into buying cryptos and you want to have a little bit of a reduced amount, right, why not? On top of that, and we're going to talk about the APY for the different cryptos, the more Voyager that you hold, the increase in the APY. So, well, first of all, try doing that at your local bank. Good luck.
Well, I think that with the traditional bank, it's kind of like, well, even though, you really have to have quite a cash, deposit bank account to even get any kind of additional premium fees, but they're nowhere near what we've seen, especially around the USDC. Have you been following what Circle is doing and where the USDC connectivity is going? They're getting ready to go SPAC. Did you know that?
No, I had heard something about that. I think I saw it on your channel. I can't remember because I watch you every so often, Paul. But it looks like they're making strides with USDC, and it used to be all tether. Now all of a sudden it's but they have like these big partnerships with like Visa and things like that. So I mean, follow the money.
Well, and I think the point is if you're an investor, maybe you're an early crypto investor, or maybe you just got into it, and all this is new to you, and the cautious step in to at least learning how to trade, use the platforms, things of that nature, is jump into a stable coin, get your money parked in there. Remember, the other thing is you want to kind of develop that KYC and AML process so that one, you're ready to trade, so you're not fumbling around when the market's on the move trying to get cash into an account, going right from whether it's a USDT or a USDC stable coin right into your trades is really kind of the key thing. Those are the basic 1, 2, 3 steps you need to take. But while that's happening, let's jump to Voyager and look at these interest rates, because this is where it starts getting interesting between the two platforms. USDC right there,
9%.
The Circle coin is 9%. Yep.
Jeez Louise.
Up to 100 minute. Now you've got to have $100 in there. So come on, anybody can put $100 in there. Let's get in there. At 9%, that's a great deal. Here's the thing: how are they pulling this off? I've asked this of Alex Mashinsky, of Steve. I get various, very not direct answers, but they kind of how they pulling this off?
How they pulling this off? I think. Well, I remember when I had Alex on, he said there was a couple of ways that they would do it. One would be an arbitrage opportunity if they had it, but it's a stable coin, so whatever. And then the next one was they would rehypothecate. So they would send it out, hedge funds would use it, and so on and so forth. And then there was...
That kind of got them in trouble with Prime Trust, though. That was the whole rehypothecation aspect of it. That's why I think Prime was looking at it as a little bit more risk out there.
Yeah, and then, so like I saw, there was an interview that he did with James over at Invest Answers. And they kind of came forth and they said that, what he said was, it wasn't so much about... And of course, there is a side of every story for every person, correct? So on Prime Trust, as reported by Cointelegraph, I believe, they said it was a problem with the rehypothecation. But over on Alex's side, he goes, no, that wasn't the case. The case was that we had so many problems with New York residents, and that the service wasn't up to par that we dropped them, and it goes from there. So. I mean, you have to kind of...
And what we're talking...
Go ahead.
Yeah, what we're talking about for our viewers, because sometimes Rob and I are talking in code here, because we know what we're saying, but in some of you guys may not know what we're saying. What we're talking about is Celsius, their CEO, Mr. Mashinsky, who's basically they departed away from Prime Trust, which was basically one of the key funding backup sources for being able to offer these kind of things. Same thing with Voyager at 9%. Steve over at Voyager, their CEO, 9%. That's a huge. I mean, here's the thing. I'm very interested in is what does this do to the U.S. banking system if this really gets big here in the U.S. in terms of just parking USDC in your crypto accounts, getting ready to trade, and earning 9% on your money.
Yeah, I mean, here's the thing. Like, if I was a bank. And this is what I always take a step back and look at if I'm in the banking business and I'm looking at where my customers are going for loans, where they're going to store their money, where they're going for different financial services, I would be a little bit worried right now, especially with the interest. Now there is one thing that the banks have over all cryptocurrencies and all different digital assets. It's trust. Because they've been around for so long. And of course, some people right now are screaming at the screen going, I don't trust my bank. I don't trust those bankers. Well, yeah, maybe you don't, but a lot of people do, FDIC insurance and everything else. So it's one of those things where like, it's just ingrained into people about what to use. Moving forward, I think as people start to look at the different options that are coming about, especially with what's going on with quantitative easing and the different things that are going on with the Federal Reserve, I think people would actually go, I can keep my money in my savings account. And then of course, with inflation, which is 2%, I'm actually losing the purchasing power as it drops, or I could put it into, I don't know, a Voyager, and then sit it there and take that money and put it into USDC or Tether or whatever else it is, gain a little bit of yield. Also, they're going to have this nice handy dandy debit card, which I can pay for things. So where am I going to do that?
Right. I was asking Mashinsky over at Celsius how they were going to integrate in. I mean, because they're one step away from being a bank, really. If you think about it, they've got if you've got a debit card and you have a loan instrument, which I love the loan instrument at Celsius in the sense of, hey, there's literally no credit check. It's pure collateral based, which really should be any bank out there. If you have 100 grand in the bank, you should be able to go collateralize that at 50% easily overnight. Maybe with a bank, with US dollars, you should be able to do maybe up to 60 or 70% full collateralized. And I just don't get it. I mean, they make you jump through all these hoops. You're trying to do something on a real estate deal. It's ridiculous how much red tape is out there. So I think a lot of this is moving in that direction for this. But you mentioned debit card for Voyager.
Right.
When is that going to be released? Do you know?
Oh, you got to talk to Steve about that. I just know that it's one of those things where like when I had Steve on, he's like, it's coming. Maybe not today, maybe not tomorrow.
Why do you think it's been a little slow? Because even you look at Robinhood, they've got their card up in queue. You've got obviously Coinbase is coming over with one, Voyager, Celsius, BlockFi. Everybody seems to be trying to do the deals right now. Why is it taking so long, I wonder?
Like I talked to my friend Alex Mascioli. I'm on the Alex Mascioli show, and he's doing a lot of things with his Cent token. And I'm like, tell me what's going on so I can, tell it to the people on my channel and what's happening. He goes, there are so many hoops to jump through and regulatory issues, and especially with the lawyers to get it right. He goes, because if we mess up one part, then it kind of screws up the whole thing. And now we have to pay fines. Now we open ourselves for something else that goes on. And that's just on Alex's side. So I can only imagine on Steve Ehrlich's side, because he's a publicly traded company, for Pete's sakes.
Yeah.
And then Celsius, the token itself is a security. It is a registered security. Right. So they need to make sure they do everything, like the I's are dotted and the T's are crossed. I think what it really comes down to is if they don't do it right, they don't want to pull an EOS and get that $1 billion slap on the wrist, even though EOS made billions of dollars, but whatever. So I think it just comes down to that.
Yeah, and obviously facing kind of like the public backlash that you see when these kind of things. Look at Binance right now. They've had some real challenges, mainly because of them not necessarily following the guidelines in a lot of these countries.
Well, think about it this way, Paul. So everybody looks at the people who aren't in the know. Like everybody watching your channel is pretty well educated because they watch the Paul Lerone show, right? So they really know what's going on. But then there's a large lump of people who hear from a Janet Yellen, who hear from Congress, and they hear about all these different like ransomware and being used for all these illicit activities. So these companies that are coming forward now, like a Voyager, like a Celsius, they have to make sure that the things that they do are on the up and up, because they don't want to be that first one to come out and just just fold and gets like, oh well, see, I knew it was a scam because they didn't do X, Y, and Z. And hey, it's tough to be the first. Nobody wants to be the first, but nobody wants to be last too.
All right, back to the screen here on Voyager interest, 9% USDC, Bitcoin at 5.75. So you're still holding your Bitcoin. You're getting paid almost 6% here from Voyager. Ethereum at 4.6. Polkadot 12%, and you just need 20 Polkadots.
Yeah, thanks for reminding me. I got to transfer.
Yeah, there you go. Of course, 500 VGX, and you get the 7%. Aave at 3%, and then you kind of get down into the basement. Outside of Cardano, look at that, 5.25. There it is.
Oh,
so
Cardano. they're competing with my stake pool.
The stake pool, yep.
Yeah,
they're going after it.
They're going after the D News Cardano stake pool. What are you gonna do?
I like it. And then another one is Litecoin, another high yield performer right here on Voyager at 5.5%. So I love the fact that these guys are competing. If Voyager did not have Celsius, and there was a partnership between them here recently where they actually are working together. So that's kind of unique in itself. I want to jump over to Celsius and go down to their whole unbank yourself model. But here's the United States rates.
Look at that.
Of course, if you guys are looking in, that's 8.88. So it's a little bit softer for USDC, but all the major stable coins right there at almost 9%. I wonder why they came in at 8.8 versus just stepping up and do the 9%. I guess it's going to be like the poker table. Who's putting in another chip?
And of course, what did Voyager do? Oh, 8.8? Well, we're going to go 8. We're going to go 9. So we'll
9%.
See. Yeah. So beat that.
We'll see at 9. We'll see at 9.
That's right.
So yeah, all their stables are holding. I like that. Now remember too, here was something that a lot of people, and we have a lot of viewers in the UK and in the Middle East. International rates right here, a little bit stronger for you guys in the UK, especially on Celsius. Their USDC holding at 11.21. If you're holding Tether at 11.21 also. So again, very strong on those. I want to jump back to the US rates and go down into the tokens because this is all stable coins.
That's crazy.
Right here, yeah, here we go into the 6%, but it's only one Bitcoin.
Up to 1. So yeah, after 1.
Yeah, 35K. Yeah, you really cut it down. So you could park a little bit over there. I don't understand why they do that. There's some limitations there. Maybe there's some kind of ruling with that. Ethereum's 5.3 up to 100 ETH, 5.3.
Yeah.
After 100 ETH, 5.05, a little tighter.
Yeah.
And Celsius, I think it was Celsius that was, no, it was eToro that had Ethereum became the number one investment on their platform. I wonder how that's going to hold up with Ethereum. Mashinsky kind of mentioned that earlier. Here's the one that really surprised me, Synthetics, 13.9%. What do you think about that?
Jeez. For how they doing? First of all, how they doing that? I mean, we just talked about the other ones, but how they doing 13 point? But
almost 14%.
But you know what? Synthetics has always been high. It's always been one of those super high ones, and then and Polkadot was high as well, and then we just saw it at 12%. Mm-hmm. So why is it? Is it in that much demand? That's the question. And if there is that much demand,
well, synthetic, we just did a token analysis on it. That thing is flying over the last 2 weeks. It was a great investment. If you were a short-time trader, you made some money.
Ugh. The question is, so Paul, you guys did that deep dive. Just tell me, like, for the synthetics, like, what's the case for it to actually be like the big draw, or is it just one of those plays of like, hey, we're traders and we like to trade these things?
I think this is trader movement. It really is, both on synthetics and compound, because many of these projects, as you know, Rob, almost are, lockstep the same. They have all DeFi use cases. Maybe they're reducing gas, whatever the scenario is. Graph's a little different.
Yeah.
You look at Audius, a little different. There's definite hundreds of projects out there that really have real use cases, like the World Mobile Token, project you guys kind of introduced us to. That has real use case, completely different kind of scenario than what a lot of DeFi is going into. Polygon, same thing. Matic setting at 10.5%, and Polkadot also 8.86. Aave, almost 6% there, and then BNT at 5.5. And you can kind of see your numbers here. So you guys, if you're trying to figure out which one to choose, you really can't make the decision on just the yield rates. So you have to jump into the companies themselves and kind of where they're going. I wanted to jump over to a chart we did, and let me just increase this here. Yeah. So we did an exchange analysis based on top yields, and then we also looked at a couple other things. So overall trust ratings, general sentiment ratings, customer service, when people are talking about customer service, and guest satisfaction, and then product awareness on these rankings. And this is in our platform that we've built for about almost 9 years now. We've been building this on basically speech analysis. So it's much like projects you'll see that are NLP projects that run on how much traffic is going out there based on sentiment and some other variables on data sets. But Voyager and Celsius head-to-head, overall trust, really close. Celsius edging out slightly. And then you go to general sentiment. Voyager edges out slightly. Customer service, to your point, is where Celsius seems to have the upper hand. So
Yeah, vastly.
I think that's the one. Yeah, I think that's the one thing that Voyager, and I know they're working on it. And this is one of those things when you're an early stage company like Voyager, it is one of those things. But there are some benefits there for that. Customer satisfaction, Celsius held up a little bit stronger, but Voyager is climbing.
Yeah.
And then product awareness, Celsius just does a really good job in terms of marketing. And I think they've done an excellent job. The other thing that comes into this is that we're dealing with a lot of scenarios where education is becoming a factor. So whether you're over on Coinbase or maybe you're on Binance or on any of these exchanges, maybe even on, if you look at what Robinhood, I hate to refer back to them, but they've done a good job at educating their investors. And I say educating, really getting the investors to become, their product. And creating kind of that gamification aspect of it. But along the way, you learn. And I think that's the thing with crypto is that, you need to start learning how to do these things. And that's where I think Celsius and Voyager need to step it up.
Yeah, Robinhood, you learn trial by fire, right?
Yeah.
Like come on in here. And then, do all the trading that you want to do. And then leverage trading and everything else. And that horrible story about that kid who...
exactly.
Well, awful story. But yeah, I mean, like
you realize they only got a $75 million fine on all this, and it was actually the SEC ruling was that they had basically neglected their customer base and was I can't remember the exact term, negligent.
Yeah.
And I mean, they used some pretty powerful things. 75 million, a slap on the wrist. That's a slap on the wrist. They need to add another zero to that. One more zero, 750 million, that would have got their attention.
That would have got attention, but they still would have said, this is the cost of doing business. The banks have been doing this for decades. So what's different there? If I'm going to get 75 million, okay, but I just made $1 billion, so whatever. I don't really care.
Yeah.
But
well, that's the scenario you're dealing with. I think when you look at best yields, I wanted to go to this story right here. Tell me what you think about this. So I highlighted Voyager, Voyager, I believe it's in the yellow. This was third-party analysis, so we're kind of giving you guys some other stuff that's not just Rob and I talking about this. Which offers best yields? Pretty much they've said this is kind of a draw. Which has lower fees. Voyager wins, I think, in this case, but when you look at the overall, Celsius is, you can't buy on it much at all. So buying and selling fees are a little bit more atrocious.
Atrocious, that's a good word. Atrocious.
Yep. Atrocious. So I think Voyager wins that out for sure.
Yeah. You know what's great about, because I use both. Celsius is great because there's, for you to take your crypto off the platform of Celsius, the fees are zero, which is pretty impressive, right? But if you want to buy crypto, it's pretty atrocious, like they said. So, I mean, every different platform has its own pros and cons. That's why with Voyager, what I personally do is I buy a lot of my cryptos on Voyager because it's super simple, it's super easy, and they're a brokerage. It's not an exchange. So they go through all the different exchanges and go, give us the best price. It's like the hotels.com of crypto. And then you pocket that. Now, if you want to take it off the platform, you're going to pay a little bit more because Celsius is zero. But again, it's super easy. And then if I want to gain better yield, I'll just transfer everything over to, or not everything, things over to Celsius. Never keep all your crypto in one place. I think that is the worst thing you could possibly do. You don't want to get Mt. Goxed. And for those of you who haven't been around for a while, Mt. Gox was a pretty big exchange back in like 2012, 13, where everybody had their Bitcoin. They lost it all because it got hacked. So just be careful out there and spread it around.
Have you, with Voyager, have you seen because I haven't pulled anything out of Voyager at all. What is the speed in which it transfers back in? What's the delay?
So like it's different because they've had this issue, and I've had Steve on the show to talk about it, and he said, we're trying to make things better. So like on some things, it's very quick, right? If you want to transfer out your Bitcoin, not too bad. to transfer over, they had a problem with Cardano at one point where it was a huge problem, and there was a problem with their nodes. And for me, I'm only as good as what people trust in what I say.
Right.
And if I have no trust, then my channel is null and void. So I was talking about Voyager, how great it was, and then they had this problem with transfers as far as Cardano, and people were emailing me, "Where's my Cardano? Where's my Cardano? Where's my XRP?" Those were the two big ones. And I said, "Steve, what's going on?" He goes, "We have a problem with the nodes. We're going to fix it. When's it going to be?" He gave me a date of 2 weeks, and it did get done. So if you're doing something like that, it's, for me personally, most of them come off pretty quickly. Ethereum's Ethereum. Let's be honest. Even if you're going to have to pay a transaction fee that's pretty high to get it going.
Yeah.
But Cardano was pretty slow. I remember at one point it was like a 2 or 3 day thing, and now I think it's down to like less than 10 minutes. So just depends.
Wow.
Yeah.
Yeah. So overall, I think this is kind of a draw between the two. It depends on what route you need to take. If you need to do a little trading, Voyager is probably going to be the one you want to go with. If you're looking for yields and you may want some really good access to loans, Celsius has the upper hand there for with loans.
Oh, loans are
but I think
so
that's
easy.
coming.
Yeah.
Yeah, loans are coming over to Voyager. I wonder if they're going to utilize the same model in terms of just friction-free type lending.
I don't know. I mean, I've used Celsius for a sizable loan when I had to purchase my condo in Puerto Rico, and I couldn't get out of my bank because I was in Puerto Rico, and they're like, "No, we don't know what's going on." And a wire transfer, well, sir, it might take 2 or 3 days. Every bank's different. I went through Celsius, got the loan. It took an hour, and it was funded. Wow. So it was great. I mean, and just like you said in the beginning, if you have 100,000 and you are over collateralized, you need 50,000, shouldn't be an issue. You got 100,000 in the bank. Let's just do that and give us a low interest.
Exactly, which there are very low interest rates on these things too. Which is ironic. I mean, in many of these cases, that's the thing that kind of blows me away, is why the traditional banking system isn't seeing what is happening out here in this space. Do you feel, Dan, that this is just, such a small percentage of people that are involved in crypto today? I know we're kind of in a bubble here on our YouTube channels and in our analysis of crypto, but once you step outside that bubble into other financial circles, it's definitely a different game for sure.
It's what I could compare it to is like, remember when there was a Blockbuster on every driveway, on every street, it seemed like.
Yeah. And
then you'd have to go there and wait in line and get your VHS or your CDs, DVDs, and then you would come out, and then you have to might have to pay to get back. And then Netflix came out, and you're like, wow, I can just stream these. This is pretty simple. Why doesn't everybody do this? Because no one really knows. I mean, not everybody really knew about it until it caught on, and then all of a sudden, and then off it goes. So it's the same thing. Like if you're looking for loans for banks, like I've got multiple businesses, and it's a pain in the A to get a loan from a bank, and they're gonna make you sweat it out, really, and they're gonna do some background checks, and they're gonna pay, and you're gonna pay a lot of fees because there's a lot of overhead, a lot of checks and balances. Yeah. People got to do all this stuff. So yeah, if you want to do that, sure. And then also, I mean, business accounts and what you can do with that, it's awful. And then of course, good luck getting any kind of interest because the money that's sitting there, it's just really on fire, really, if you think about it. Yeah. We're talking about inflation. So yeah, I mean, I think when Voyager gets this going and Celsius gets it going, and then the Avanti group over in Wyoming, and they start to do their cryptocurrency banks, people are like, why haven't we done this before? Why is there so much yield? Why do they do it like this before? Now they're doing it like this now, and where was the gap? So I think the best is yet to come, but we'll see.
Yeah, for sure. I think that's going to be the scenario too. You've got, this is something that I've been looking at and we have a lot in our circle. We've got a lot of people who own businesses, and when you look at whether you're set up as an LLC or a C corp, the typical scenario is that the officers are in some cases very difficult because you have to own 25% or more of an LLC. Otherwise, you have to start revealing and doing, personal guarantees, all those kind of things on traditional banking system.
Yes.
Hard.
Time consuming.
Yes.
Time consuming, and
Yes.
time is money. I've only got so much time on this planet, right? I don't want to have to deal with filling out paperwork and jumping through hoops. Just give me the thing that I need to get so I can build my business and just get out of my way. That's really all it really comes down to.
Do you think that Voyager, because when we had Steve on, he mentioned that you had to have a personal account with Voyager, and then you applied to get your business on so that you could utilize Voyager as a trading platform and as, you know, a potential yield position for your treasury, which is excellent. I wonder, have you heard or talked to anybody that actually has done that?
Not yet, but I get a lot of questions about that. Like, how can I, the big question I get is, how can I, as an LLC, purchase cryptocurrencies?
Right.
Because I want to run it through the LLC because of, you know, the benefits, tax savings. Right.
Yep.
And I'm like, well, you know, I'm not really too sure about that. And if they're going to roll that, if they're going to roll that out and it's already, you know, it's in play, I mean, why wouldn't you do those types of things? Makes a lot of sense.
Yeah. Alex Mashinsky from Celsius said they had a corporate solution now, so you just applied for it, and, you know, a few days later they would give it to you. It's much like a trading account. I mean, trading accounts have a lot of that, you know, KYC, and it's mainly, obviously, the big reason is the money laundering because of the shell corporations that are out there and being done. So I get why it's being done, but this is really going to open up a whole new layer, I think, once businesses really understand how to do this appropriately. And especially if debit cards come in, loans are easily accessible. This is really going to change the two things. The only thing you have left to do is write checks. So at that point, you're just doing, you know, dropping a little bit of money from your USDC back into your old fiat account just to cover some checks over there, and you're still over there earning your 9% yield. So it's so easy. It's so easy,
and it's crazy, but it's the thing that we should have already had beforehand. And this is how I think it really should have gone. But I mean, who am I? I'm just some guy who doesn't want to pay all these crazy fees and just get a little bit of yield. That's all. That's really all it comes down to.
That's for sure. All right, you guys have it. It's kind of Celsius, Voyager. Pick your poison. Choose wisely. Always do a lot of research on your own. And I know you had another topic you want to hit on. Bonus material here coming at you.
Well, there was one. Because I was thinking about it in my head before I got sidetracked. Who's the next one to do a Roth IRA or any kind of IRA for, like, if Voyager and Celsius gets into it? Because there was a story about Peter Thiel that just came out, 2 weeks ago, where he used the Roth IRA to accumulate, I want to say $5 billion. Am I off on that one? Check me in the comments section.
I'll look at, I'm not sure if it was $5 billion, but I know which story you're talking about.
And the way that he did it, because you can do a backdoor Roth IRA for high income net individuals, but you're not putting $1 billion into a Roth IRA. And how he did it was he would get these shares of companies that were worth nothing in the beginning, and of course he would put it in there, like, that's not worth much. And then all of a sudden, of course, it's 1,000x because it's Peter Thiel, and he gets these huge advancements. Yeah, right. So, like, when I see, like, these Voyagers and the Celsius, I'm like, which one of these is going to do the next Roth IRA? Like me right now, I have iTrust. I use iTrust, and they have over like 20 different cryptocurrencies. They also have gold and silver. And also, what's great about that is I can do trading within my Roth IRA, and it's tax free.
Right.
So, and
till you take the capital gain, of course.
Till you take the capital gain, but if you wait till you're 59 and a half years old, not so bad.
Then you're okay. Not so bad.
So we'll see. We'll see which ones wants to compete with iTrust. Okay, go ahead, Paul. Sorry.
All right, so you had some bonus material today. This is this whole thing about YouTube comments. And for all of you, if you're commenting on this below, the likelihood is you've got some sort of pseudonym in there that's saying they're me, or they're saying they're Dan on his channel. And it's a problem. It's a real problem right now. We're dealing with that. You actually ran across a solution, but I have something to tell you about that. But go ahead.
Okay. So first of all, I had this idea. I'm like, there's so much spam out there on YouTube. And if you're watching this video, there's a good chance you actually watched a commercial before you even got into this video. And usually, and sometimes those videos are complete scams. And of course, a lot of people know it, but the scammers don't care about the 90%. They care about the 10% who have no idea, and they're going to scam you out. So that's just on the commercial side, and that's all YouTube's fault. Let's just be honest. But then there's another side of that, which is everybody who are in the comments section. And I get this all day long, or I used to get this all day long, where people who would create an account in YouTube, because there is no trademark in YouTube. Anybody can be digital asset news. All they got to do is just create some kind of Gmail and then just put it out there like that. And they say, hit me up on WhatsApp or send me some Bitcoin. I'll send you some more Bitcoin back. And people always say to me like, well, who would fall for that? It is a $1 billion industry. And they've done studies on this all the time because people just are like, this is a new thing. They don't understand it. So what I did was, first of all, my probably future son-in-law he's a developer. He works in AI. I'm like, hey, there's a great idea. I know you can do this. Just create this program that could filter out all this junk and get rid of all these spammers. And he's like, yeah, I'll work on it. And of course, never got around to it. Then I got a DM from a company called YouTube Guard, ytguard.com, ytguard.com. And they said, hey, we can fix your problem. I'm like, that's great, because my comment section, it is so junked up with these spammers that I can't get real comments, and the conversation gets lost in all this noise. And they implemented it. And the first couple of days, it was 70% reduction in spam. And then they tweaked some things. And within 2 weeks, I had 95% reduction in spam and scammers, and it wipes them all out. So the reason why I did it was because I didn't want my subscribers to get spammed and scammed. Because again, trust is a commodity you can't buy. I want to make sure everybody comes down, they're safe. And then the second reason was because I just think that's just the right thing to do these types of things. So I reached out to all the YouTubers that I knew, and some I did not know. And of course, very few people actually did it. And I know we talked, Paul, and you were looking into it, but this was like 2 or 3 days ago, I think. And then on YouTube, there is I always get this guy's name, Stephen Graham.
Yep, Graham Stephan.
Stephan. So his channel might be deleted because YouTube says, hey, you've got way too many spam comments, and that goes against our policies and procedures. And he's like, this is not my fault. It's just all these spammers that you guys don't help me with. And I know like some channels, they actually hire people to go through it. It's like a 40-hour-a-week job just to get rid of the scammers. I just use that ytguard.com, and it wipes it all out. So if you just do the right thing and get rid of these people as fast as possible, then you wouldn't have your channel potentially taken down. And that's all I got to say.
Yeah. Rob, it's always good having you on the channel. We get into some crazy discussions here, but the main thing is you learned something about Voyager and Celsius today. And
yes.
Hopefully you're going to take that to the case and get a full understanding. We're going to try to bring you some more videos on best trading platforms, also some other aspects around some of these platforms that are emerging and may be players in the future that you might be starting to play with right now in terms of crypto trading. So stay tuned here. Make sure, though, you guys got to check out Digital Asset News. All you got to do is search Digital Asset News, and you're going to hit it. That's where Rob resides. He hangs his hat over there and does a great job on really education, I think. And I love that. And how's the Dan Teaches Crypto thing going? Going well?
So yeah, great. Dan teaches. So just what Paul was talking about, it's important that everybody gets educated in what's going on. Like, first of all, what is cryptocurrency? How do you actually get into it? What are the best practices? And how do you do your own research? And all the things that you want to know. I just created a website, danteachescrypto.com, and I made it 100% free because I know that around the globe, people cannot afford these pay for sites. So I just made it free for everybody. So it doesn't matter if you're in, Bel Air, or if you're in New York, or if you're in Bangladesh or in Sub-Saharan Africa. If you have an internet connection and a computer, you can learn all about crypto at danteachescrypto.com.
All right, my man. Hey, great to have you. You guys are listening over on the podcast. Make sure and stay tuned. Give us some stars over there. And of course, you're here on YouTube. Subscribe, hit the bell. And of course, we love your comments. Keep them coming down below. If you want to learn something, you want to get Dan back on, you need something answered, or maybe you'd like to see a CEO on the show here, or you have a project, shoot it to us, and that's producer@reverendnetworks.com. You can always hit me up on Twitter @PaulBaron. We'll catch you next time right here on Tech Path.